Hello and welcome to the Capital Compass. Border Gold is one of Canada's leading silver and gold dealers and is one of the largest Royal Canadian Mint direct distributors in Canada. Joining me in studio to discuss the gold rush we are having is Robert Levy. He is the managing director of Border Gold. Robert is also a guest expert and global BC financial contributor. Robert, nice to have you.
Thank you. It's nice to be with you, Coreena.
All right. Well, to get started, gold has added around $700 US an ounce in the last year. And it's been almost like a 30% increase. Why are we seeing this trajectory for gold?
I think there's two factors really that's driving this rally. One is the short-term factors, and it's the geopolitical impact and the story there, what's going on around the world, whether in the Middle East or Russia, Ukraine, China, Taiwan. Investors want a safe haven in the near term. The other big mover of this market is gold in the U.S. dollar, and the fact, we've had rampant inflation, increased budget deficits, government spending. So gold is your long-term de facto play against that for protecting your purchasing power. So you got the short-term driven factors and the long-term driven factors, but together they contribute to make demand for higher gold prices and stronger precious metal prices.
All right. Well, I also recently interviewed Rick Roll, who is definitely pro gold. And one of the main reasons lying is for him to saying that this is a good thing to get and to have is the inflation of the US dollar. So gold trades in US dollars. How does the impact of the US dollar impact the value of gold?
Well, if there's a long-term currency debasement story, which we sort of see with Western governments all around the world, that's bullish for precious metals. And, we always focus on the price of gold in U.S. dollars, but, the price of gold in Canadian dollars, it's been on an absolute tear, over $3,800 Canadian the ounce. So there is a long-term story about currency debasement and investors seeking protection of their purchasing power and looking to precious metals for that.
Do you see the Trump presidency potentially affecting the price of gold?
Not particularly, at least the trajectory. In the near term, it's the volatility or the fireworks or what's going around in the world. Perceptions that this might be a president that leads to some peace in the Middle East, maybe that takes a little bit out of the price of gold. This rally in the precious metals market really started October 7th of last year, and it's been going ever since. So I think a peace story might be a little bearish in the near term for gold, but I think, relating back to the previous question, regardless whether it was Trump or Harris, it was going to be a U.S. presidency and administration that was going to continue to spend more money. So the long-term theme for precious metals is still there, regardless of who's president in the United States. It's just we might see a little volatility with this president south of the border. And for investors, that just creates buying opportunities.
Would that create more the purchasing of gold, getting more gold in to deal with that volatility?
Oh, yeah. I mean, new trading ranges always attracts new investors. So that's one part of the story. And especially when you see that wider volatility, those big moves to the down days, I mean, that's when long-term investors see a pullback in prices and think, okay, gold's on sale today, so now's a good time to invest.
All right. Now, the question people ask is, can gold keep going up? I think we've answered that, but
it's the tricky one. And the famous economist John Maynard Keynes said, in the long term, we're all dead. But in the long term, yes, gold prices will keep going higher because of what we're seeing in the world today. And no government wants to tackle or rein in government spending. So as long as there's administrations around the world that, continue to spend and aren't really accountable, to me, that's bullish for metal prices.
And that looks like that's a global situation. That's just not in our North American, area.
Exactly.
All right. Now, why is now a good time to buy gold?
Well, for a particular investor, it's always a good time to buy gold because you're always rebalancing or adjusting your portfolio. And to me, gold and precious metals are a good way to hedge and diversify and balance your risk. So, we've had a record run in the stock markets this year. Anybody that was invested in stocks basically made money. So there's always time for a little rebalancing and considering what your risks are and hedging a little bit of that with exposure to precious metals.
All right. Now, globally, the geopolitical events are drastically impacting the price of oil. Now, how does gold also get affected by these events? I know we touched on that earlier, but maybe a little bit more of a deeper explanation.
Yeah, it's a similar story because when you look at commodities like oil, I mean, that's very much driven by the supply and demand story. So you have something that goes on in the Middle East, maybe impacting a country like Iran, and you talk about 3 to 4% of the world's global oil supply, that has a direct impact on prices. But similarly, that sort of instability in the region That says to investors, okay, we don't know how the next couple months are going to play out. There's concern here. I need to hedge a little bit. We talk about a decoupled world where it's not as much as the US dollar as your predominant safe haven. So investors need another alternative, and that's where gold really plays a role. So when investors are looking for safety, that's the yellow metal.
Now, Trump has endorsed cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin is surging. How does gold compare to crypto?
Yeah, gold unfairly is compared to cryptocurrencies a lot because for some reason, a lot of investors look at them as both alternatives to the US dollar. Gold is your long-term historical proven, it's got a track record as a safe haven and as a hedge to the US dollars. Cryptocurrencies are new. So where to me, cryptos are a lot more speculative, not proven. They haven't been sort of tested for the length of time that gold has. They might both serve a role in a portfolio, but gold is your long-term proven safe haven. Cryptos are your more speculative.
All right, now, well, let's just carry that on a little bit further and let's take a look at a portfolio, for example, and we want to diversify it. In your opinion, what portion would you allocate to gold?
Yeah, it comes down to the individual investor, but where their allocation to other asset classes like equities or fixed income or alternative investments, I mean, gold has always been a part of that sort of cash position of your portfolio, maybe somewhere as 1%, as much as 5% in your portfolio. It's up to the individual investor, but there's a role for every investor to have a little bit of gold in the portfolio for, a number of reasons that we talked about. It's the safe haven aspect, something goes wrong in the world and gold is your hedge. It's your liquidity aspect that it's outside the financial system where you might not sell a stock or a bond one day. You can always get cash for an ounce of gold.
Now, inside of the gold world, there's ETFs, there's gold mining stocks, and there's also physical gold. Uh, how would you sort of diversify through those?
Well, I think precious metals are just very different than all of the above. The mining stocks have been troubled in this environment. We have record high precious metal prices, gold prices, yet the mining stocks don't seem to perform the same way. So that's the challenge that sector's been under. And the ETFs, I mean, they're fine as exposure to the physical price of gold, but they don't give you an added layer of diversification like your physical precious metals do.
All right, and on the physical side, how much are we sort of suggesting that people, basically, put aside? And how can you invest in the physical gold?
Well, I mean, you buy it through a dealer like us at Border Gold, and whether you take delivery of it, you store it with us. Those are all options for the individual investor and what's right for them. But anything from 1 ounce coins to large kilo bars, it's all what's right for the individual.
All right, now, and finally, this is the holiday season and a time for gifting. How can somebody gift gold?
Well, its simplest form is in a coin, gold or silver coins that mints make around the world that make it kind of fun to just your traditional store of wealth in a 1 ounce bar. It's better than cash.
All right, well, thank you so much, Robert, for your time. As always, I feel like I need to buy some gold following our conversation. That is Robert Levy, Managing Director of Border Gold. You can find them online at bordergold.com and in person at the company's location in Surrey. Thanks so much for watching from downtown Vancouver. I'm Coreena Robertson.